Why do we need to correct her framework and technique? Why not just let her play matches? If your framework is poor during training, it will only become more unstable in a real match. That's why we must build a solid foundation first. Just like in school, you have to master the basics before advancing. If I teach her advanced techniques directly, she'll end up struggling with the simplest shots. So, a solid foundation is crucial. Today, we'll focus on 3 key points. Remember her old form? The biggest issue was her lack of body rotation. This is also the most common problem for amateur players. Look at her body turn now. For instance, her shoulder dip is much better than before. So, what caused this improvement? It's because I'm using my non-playing hand to aim at the contact point. Listen up. For topspin, aim your non-playing hand back. For backspin, aim it down. When you aim down, your body naturally gets lower. When you aim back, you automatically create space for your swing. If the non-playing hand aims down, the shoulder naturally drops with it. Once you're more advanced, you won't need to consciously aim with that hand. But until it becomes muscle memory, using your non-playing hand is key for initiating rotation and adjusting your body height. The second key point is power generation. Previously, her non-playing arm was static, forcing her to generate power with only the right side of his body. This creates an imbalance and leads to relying only on the shoulder. This is an extremely common mistake among amateur players. Many players only use one side of their body to generate power. Think of your body like an airplane with 2 wings. To generate power, your non-playing side must provide a counterbalance. Amateurs should practice this to improve power. Otherwise, you'll always have that imbalance. Your playing side is tense while your non-playing side is limp. Third point, what is the proper racket path for a loop? For a forehand loop against backspin, your backswing should start at the 6 o'clock position. Your brushing contact on the ball should travel from 5 o'clock towards 2 or 3 o'clock. So, what is the relationship between 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock? It's a low to high motion. You have to understand that a loop is fundamentally a low to high stroke. The backswing is at 6 o'clock, and the follow-through finishes around 12, 1, or 2 o'clock. This is just an analogy to help you visualize it. Which of these strokes looks more professional? Many people just want to have a graceful form, not necessarily to compete. The second motion is the correct one. The difference is subtle. You might think it looks like a push, and it does have that element. But from an amateur's standpoint, this technique is quite good. And this one? It's also a push. You must first understand that your racket path has to be from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Let's practice the standard textbook form first, not an in-match adjustment. From 6 to 12 o'clock, the path is an arc. It's not a straight line up. Nor is it a push forward from 6 to 3 and then up. Have you ever walked up a spiral staircase? You start at one point, and by the time you reach the next floor, you've rotated to the other side. That's the kind of angle we're looking for. So, imagine your arm is moving along that spiral staircase, creating an arc. Your hand starts behind you, at the base of the staircase, and swings up to the second floor. Your arm must move forward while simultaneously rotating upward in an arc. My backswing starts outside the table, but my follow-through finishes over the table. This distance is a combination of forward motion and an upward arc. So, why does this type of stroke look so fluid and powerful? Because it incorporates both forward and upward motion. Swinging straight forward is just a push. Swinging straight up is just a lift. Neither is correct. But when you combine them into a smooth arc, you can generate power effortlessly. Move in an arc as you swing upward. Only by mastering this arc can you consistently loop the ball in a match, no matter the height, speed, or placement. This gives you a larger margin for error, so you can still make the shot even with imperfect timing. Otherwise, you might loop well in drills but fall apart in a match when an opponent pushes the ball around the table. And the more pressure you're under, the more likely you are to hit the net. You absolutely must master this arc. This arc isn't created in a fixed spot. You create it as you move forward into the ball. It's like that spiral staircase again. As you go up, you're also moving inward. You can't just go straight. Many players use an inner arc, where the upper arm moves sideways as the hand moves up. Why are professional loops so powerful? Because I'm executing this arc while moving to meet the ball. At the moment of contact, your entire body must contribute to creating the arc. Against heavy spin, you must use your hand and fingers to help lift the ball. When your whole body works together, handling spin becomes simple. If your body goes down while your hand goes up and your fingers are weak, you will never lift the ball over the net. Your body, hand, and fingers must all follow the same arc. This is the secret to defeating spin. Look closely. Why is my backhand so effective? Because I execute the outer arc on my backhand perfectly. Observe players with weak backhands. Their strokes are always a push, a lift, or a flick. They are all missing this crucial arc. So, when you make this arc, what should your racket angle be? Look at these 3 racket angles. Which one is correct? The first? The second? Or the third? The third one is correct. Xiao Quail, your grip is currently too forehand dominant. The first example is an open racket face. Amateurs often have an open racket face when looping because they're used to hitting flat drives. Many players find that the ball goes long as soon as they complete their full swing. This is because your racket face is too open, creating a trajectory that's too high for the ball to land. So, the first rule is, you must close your racket angle. If you hit the net when closing your racket, it's because you're scooping the ball instead of brushing it. You have to close it. The more closed the angle, the more spin you'll get. The second is that a forehand dominant grip and an extended wrist are very common, even among penholders. This incorrect arc causes you to default to a pushing motion under pressure, which can't properly grip the ball. With that technique, you can't get any bite on the ball. I'm a big admirer of Ma Long's forehand. If you watch his contact point, he never hits the back of the ball. He hits slightly to the side. He always wraps around the ball. In a rally, this makes his shots drift sideways, forcing his opponents to constantly adjust their position. Players with a forehand dominant grip tend to cock their wrist back. Even if you land the shot, it will lack significant spin. You must adjust your grip between your forehand and backhand shots. On your forehand, you need to wrap the ball. On your backhand, shift to a more backhand-oriented grip. Right now, you're cocking your wrist too much, which kills your backhand quality because the wrist isn't stable. You must stop looping with a cocked back wrist. Instead, you should wrap the ball, as if you're cradling it. Currently, you are just pushing the ball. If I wrap the ball, even without using my body, I can create a whip-like effect. But if I push it your way, at the same speed, the ball is fast but has zero spin. When I wrap it, I can generate spin without much effort. This isn't about hooking your wrist, it's about increasing contact time and brushing distance. A push is like a quick shove. Wrapping the ball is more like a hug, it takes longer. A push is a brief, one-point contact. Wrapping allows you to maintain contact all the way around the ball. With your old pushing loop, your opponent can just block it back easily. Now, try wrapping the ball. The opponent will have to close their racket angle significantly to block it. That requires skill, doesn't it? If their footwork is slow or their hand is tense, they won't be able to return it. With this level of quality, an opponent at your level will already start to miss. Stop thinking you need to hit a winner. When you can't win the point and just resort to using more power, your improvement stops. Focus on generating more spin. If you make 5 loops and miss 5, you've accomplished nothing. You need to be making at least 8 or 9 out of 10 for your attack to be effective. If you just rely on power, your consistency will be low, and the risk will be high. This wrapping method not only improves consistency but also generates 10 or 20 times more spin. It's a huge difference. Now, let's talk about fingers. A proper loop drive is powered by 2 main fingers. If you tense all 5 fingers, you'll kill the spin on the ball. Many players mistake finger power for simply gripping the racket tightly. So when should you grip tightly? Only at the very end of your stroke to bring it to a stop. If you grip tightly on contact, your wrist will stiffen up. To generate friction, you need a fluid motion. A sudden grip will stop your swing dead. The key takeaway is this: at the moment of contact, your fingers must not be squeezing the handle. If you tighten your grip right after contact, your forearm snap and forward motion will be slow. The squeeze should only happen at the very end of your follow-through. Now, push forward. See that? It's an automatic grip. Your fingers naturally stop, creating a braking effect. The brushing motion leads to a natural braking. You don't need to consciously stop your swing. Our fingers have a limited range of motion, so when they reach their limit, they stop. That's the grip. When I'm looping, I never consciously grip the racket, unless I'm hitting a high, slow loop. For a high loop, which has a smaller motion, I might add a little snap. But a loop drive needs power, not just friction. If I grip too early, I lose all power. You must complete the follow-through. The second key point is finger power. Using all 5 fingers is just gripping. Real finger power comes from using specific fingers. For the forehand, the middle finger is primary, and the index finger provides support. Let's do a quick test. I'll have him serve a heavy side backspin ball, the kind that makes most amateurs hit the net. Now, I'll return it using only my fingers. See that? I can lift heavy backspin with total ease. So what's the principle? Why does a big swing go into the net? If I try a normal loop without finger action, I'll hit the net too. How can such a small finger motion lift a ball with so much spin? The principle is this: the heavier the spin, the faster the ball drops, and the less time it stays on your racket. A finger-based motion takes maybe 0.1 seconds. A full arm swing takes 0.3 to 0.5 seconds, too slow. The logic is, against heavy spin, you need a very quick, concentrated brushing motion to avoid being affected by it. Only your fingers are fast enough to execute this in a split second. A big arm swing only works against slower, less spinny balls. When the ball is faster and has more spin, a big arm swing is simply too slow to work. That's when you must switch to using finger power. People will argue that some coaches loop well with a big swing. That's because their opponents aren't hitting balls with enough quality to expose that weakness. Heavy spin is the biggest challenge for amateur players. If you can't handle spin, you'll never be able to return serves well. Using your fingers to return fast, spinny balls is your first line of attack. It's the most critical part. After you lift the ball with your fingers, if the shot lacks power, you can then add your arm in the follow-through to add depth and pace. But you must initiate the shot with your fingers. Let me be clear, professional training emphasizes finger usage because at a high level, every ball you receive has quality. The higher the level, the more crucial your fingers are, especially when receiving serve or under pressure. When your arm feels stiff, your fingers can still execute because the motion is so small and fast. What do I mean by pushing with the middle finger? For both grips, your knuckle has to make contact with the shoulder of the blade to apply pressure effectively. If you hold it like this, you can't push. It's impossible. It's the same for penhold. My junior training partners have worn through the rubber in that spot from pushing so much. You weren't focusing on your fingers before. Now, when you contact the ball, just think about your fingers. Do this until it becomes muscle memory. Second, why can't you feel that finger pressure? Because your wrist is too high. Only when your fingertips are pointing down do you have the space to push forward. Your wrist is often flat or even raised. You have no leverage from that position. Your starting position is my finishing position. Look, I finish my stroke here, after pushing through. That's where you're starting from. Let me show you the difference in spin. First, I'll use your technique. Now, watch how I do it. With that push from the finger, the spin is instant. The difference is massive. It's the same for changing direction. If I'm slow, he'll attack. If I'm fast, he can't reach it. In combat, speed is key. The same applies to generating friction. Many players have timing issues. Her forehand has a long way to go. She came to me with over a year of bad habits, which are hard to fix. This is why I tell players with 2 to 3 years of experience to solidify their framework before competing. Otherwise, you'll waste far more time correcting your technique later on.